back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, I am here today to do my final semi-finalist review for SBFBO, which I'm so excited about. This one was actually one I thought I was going to like from the get-go. It is Cursed Cocktails, and a name like that completely appeals to me because I love a cocktail. If anyone is looking to give me a drink of any kind, cocktails are the ones for me. I definitely prefer them over wine or beer or anything else. I much prefer them. And so to see cocktails in fantasy is kind of rare because it's usually mead or beer or that kind of thing in a tavern. Cocktails is something different, and I really liked seeing that as a concept. I did have high expectations because this was classed as a cozy fantasy. It was also one of the entries in this year's SBFBO which had the most ratings on Goodreads, so it seemed like quite a few people had read and enjoyed this. And I definitely love the concept of having the camaraderie that cocktail night and socialising and sampling new beverages brings. It offers itself to a cozy fantasy, I feel like, the idea of having a cocktail night or having cocktails in the story. So I was very excited. I definitely had high hopes, and I was very, very glad to say that I was not disappointed, hence why this one is a semi-finalist for me. I will say as well that I have just last night finished the second one of these, and I loved that as well. Really enjoyable. There is a third one coming March next year, so I will be picking that one up as well. And I recommend the second one too, but I'll review that later on. Let's talk about this one. So this one is the story of Riorin, who is an umbral elf who has dedicated his life to the kingdom. He is a blood mage, and he has been part of the guard of the Northern Kingdom for a long time. A blood mage is a magical being who can basically manipulate blood and manipulate the hearts and the heartbeats and the blood inside of things, so not just themselves but inside of others. However, it comes at a great cost because anytime they use the magic, it really exerts a very, very bad toll on their body, and it's not for the faint of heart. Most people who are blood mages die young and they don't survive for a long time, or they go insane. So he is extremely powerful, but it is also extremely painful to use magic, and he's dedicated his life even so to using his magic and to making the Empire safer, to keeping away bad things that wanted to come into the kingdom. And so the point where we pick up the story, we've just seen him kind of battle, and then we see that he has now retired. He has earned his retirement, which is something that very rarely happens for blood mages, and he is now kind of on a bit of a loose end. He doesn't really know what he wants to do with himself or where he wants to go next, so he speaks to some friends and they advise him to travel south, and that's what he decides to do. He thinks maybe he can go down there and he can live a peaceful retirement and he can just enjoy the kingdom that he has saved for his whole life. There are so many things that I really enjoyed about this book, so I'm just going to list a few of them off. The first thing is we do have cocktail recipes that are cited throughout the book, and they have all the lists of ingredients, and I believe you can actually make them, and you can ask the author to send you a copy just of all the recipes, which is awesome. I've not tried making any of them, but I really like the idea of them, and I personally I enjoyed the fact that they were in there, because if you're writing a book about cocktails and you don't include cocktail recipes, it doesn't make sense. I would have loved to see like drawings of all of them as well. That would have been amazing, because we talk about Riorin's father. He had a notebook where he did all these drawings and this amazing kind of record keeping of his cocktail adventures around the realm, and to have seen them would have been cool. However, I could imagine them very nicely. The descriptions were good, and I think you can imagine them, but it would have been cool to have like an amazing artwork there. Magical creatures and pets. There are a few different creatures who are magical in this, and I really enjoyed them. This book has a cat as a pet creature, but then it also has a magical creature, a mysterious magical creature that you don't discover until later on, so I'm not going to give it away. But this creature I really enjoyed. I thought they sounded super interesting and super fascinating as a character, and they really added something very lovely to the story. Next up, I would say the friendship and the camaraderie. As I mentioned, I do think there is something really wholesome and hearty about everyone gathering round and having drinks and sort of sharing stories and coming together after a long, hard day to enjoy their time off. Whilst reading this, I said to my husband that I really felt like this was very reminiscent of Travis Baldry's Legends and Lattes, and actually in the afterword, like the acknowledgement section, there was a credit to Travis Baldry saying that the author had read that and they had had this idea and they'd gone off and written it. So I definitely think there are similarities, but I think this is a distinct enough story that it doesn't feel like it's a rip-off of that at all. It just feels very inspired by that. So I think if you like that series, you're probably going to like this one too. This one still has a lot of those same elements of like found family and friendship. The magic of this world. This is a high fantasy, so it's got loads of magic interwoven throughout the whole thing. We have mages, we have elves, we have dwarves, we have all sorts of different magical creatures, and they're just normal. That's just how this world is. It doesn't need comment on because this world is just magic. They all felt like races I'd seen before, so I didn't need a huge descriptor of who they were or what they were, and it just felt like it was a familiar landscape, but I enjoyed the fleshing out of our main characters. And finally, I would say there is a really nice sense of kindness throughout this whole book. It is a cozy fantasy, and that's kind of what I've come to expect from cozy fantasy, is there is a note of light-hearted fun, but also kind, cozy, caring, and I think all of those things do come through in this story. There are various moments where Rorin is able to kind of help those who are less fortunate than him. He offers help to people who maybe others would overlook, and he kind of just gives people a chance, which they wouldn't necessarily normally have, and so it was really nice to see him give options to people, give them a chance to do something different with their lives. Overall, I do think this one delivered exactly what I was hoping for and better. The story is fun. It's not super predictable, but you can tell that it is low stakes, and so you don't feel a sense of anxiety reading it or anything like that, but you do feel like you're invested in the characters and their world and the plot line. And I think if you like cocktails, obviously it's going to be a notch higher for you, which it was for me. But yeah, for me, this personally was just such a fun story. I really, really enjoyed it, and I have read the second one, which I also really enjoyed. That one's quite different, following different characters, but set in the same world. And so I highly recommend this series, and I do think loads of you guys are going to love it. I actually gave it a really decent rating of 4.5 out of 5, which is 9 out of 10 for SPFBO. So as you can probably tell, this is one of my highest rated semi-finalists for this year, and I loved it. And I would absolutely love for you guys to go and read it, pick it up, tell me what you thought, because it's a super quick read and it's super fun. So thank you all so much for watching. I look forward to talking to you about this when you've read it, and I'll see you all in another video very soon. Bye everyone!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.